Ladies and gentlemen, to the House of Footy. We are back again with a full house. I'm Ray, your host for today, and alongside me are Gio
What's going on, boys?
and Mac.
Good evening.
And on today's pod, we are reviewing the quarterfinal fixtures for the FIFA 2022 World Cup, as well teeing up the semifinals playing on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. Before we get into it, don't forget to follow us on our social medias, both on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle is house_of_footy. Also, don't forget to rate, review, and get in touch with us. We love hearing from you guys, and we want you guys getting involved. Our email is houseoffooty@hotmail.com. Lastly, we are now uploading House of Footy YouTube videos, so please, if you can, like, comment, and of course, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our content. The link for that will be in our bios on Twitter and Instagram. All right, guys, let's get straight into it. The first quarterfinal match that took place was Croatia 1, Brazil 1, Croatia 4, Brazil 2 on penalties. And it was I think, a very much one-sided game in terms of chances, Gio. But I guess we can safely say this was a surprise result. What do you think, Gio?
Yeah, no, I completely agree that it was a surprise. Look, I think when you look at it, based on possession, I don't think the game can be defined on possession alone. Brazil had 21 shots and 11 of them were on goal. Croatia had 9 shots and only one of them were on goal. And it goes to show you, again, I constantly say this, when you don't put away your chances, you kind of come they kind of come and haunt you later on in the game. But when Neymar scored that late goal in the 101st minute, I think everybody thought, okay, this is where Tite really can kill the game. Park the bus. Bring on some defensive subs and really just hold on to the game and move on to the more important game. But Fred came on and they didn't do that. They were still going for their chances, which was really shocking. It seemed like everybody was already tired. Although you don't expect Brazil to be one of those really just let's park the bus type teams. You kind of really have to do that. The team's tired. Why risk it? But they risked it, and of course, Croatia being a well-versed team, very experienced team at this point. We kind of do have to give them the credit they deserve, and yeah, they managed to score a goal to tie it and to send it to penalties, and then obviously, and now everybody's talking about penalties. Why Neymar didn't take an earlier one, but even if Marquinhos did hit his penalty, right, it didn't bounce off the post, didn't come out. If Croatia hit theirs, Neymar wouldn't have taken one in. Like either way, and Neymar in his entire career has really been that fifth taker. He likes that pressure to close out games. So that's already has been communicated to the team. So it's not a surprise. I don't know why is everybody questioning, Tite's, penalty order. It was a shock Rodrigo missed, but it was a great save. Nonetheless, you can't take that away from the Croatian keeper. But definitely a shocker. But Croatia came out and kind of played the way we expected them to play, to kind of sit back a little more and just absorb the pressure. And again, it worked. They definitely took notes from Morocco and applied it to their game.
Croatia, definitely the team that you think they're down and out. They played 120 minutes against Japan. You knew that they were going to concede chances, but hey, they're still standing. So, Mac, I guess, do you agree with Gio with that recount of the game, and do you have anything to add to his analysis?
I absolutely love Gio. I'll be honest with you, but I also have a tendency to disagree with a lot of what he says in terms of just a couple of things. So Croatia did a good job in terms of possession on the ball because they're able to play at their own tempo in midfield. And the problem, and I thought Tite set up his team really to fail in a lot of ways, in my opinion. In the preview, I talked about shifting potentially Neymar out onto the wing and bringing on another midfielder to help clog it up. Where instead of it being a 3-on-1 with Casemiro, because Paquetá is not really dropping into a holding position, bring on somebody else to kind of gum it up a little bit more, have a little bit chance to be being a 3-on-2 with Casemiro. That didn't happen. So when Croatia did get on the ball, they seemed very, very comfortable. The difference was really in the second half when Neymar started to be able to turn it on, wanted to be able to connect with his teammates, try to link and play a little more. That was the separation for me. But again, as Gio highlighted, and I would agree with, they didn't take their opportunities. But going into, I know we're skipping towards right to the end of the game because that's really where all the juicy stuff really happened. Neymar scores probably maybe the goal of the tournament so far, I would say. 1-2, he
Up
fakes
there,
the
up there.
goalkeeper. And then on top of that, has the presence of mind not to just kind of pass it in because he assumed another Croatian defender coming in, decides to roof it. That's class. And with that goal, ties him with Pele for Brazil all-time leading goal scorer. So phenomenal there. But afterwards, in the halftime of extra time, every single one of them were celebrating in terms of yes, we just scored, the game's over, and had that mentality, and we're chasing to go get another. And in all actuality, in my opinion, kind of what happened there at the end, it was a mistake by Casemiro because he chose to press as well the whole entire game. His job, and it was unfortunate, he was 3-on-1. It's tough to play a whole game like that, but made a mistake, chose to be able to press, and as soon as that happens, you're exposing a back four for Brazil, which on its day, it's not the greatest, right? Thiago Silva is quite old. At that point, I think Alexandro had come on for Militao, playing as a right back, which that's not really his natural position. So I think they shifted Danilo over to the right hand side, if I remember correctly, and then Sandro went left. But still, that's not great. And from that gummy scramble, scored a deflected goal. So it was the lack of mentality at that moment from their key players in midfield, as well as the coach being in a position of we could have stopped this from the beginning of the game, and had a different mentality going into it, which I think they would have been more successful doing. Of course, hindsight's 2020, that's tough. But overall, I think Croatia were fair enough in their tie, at the tie from the game, and did enough to be able to do it. However, the biggest credit goes for the Croatian goalkeeper. They got Livakovic. I think that's how you pronounce it correctly.
Yeah.
I was looking up. At one point throughout the 70th minute of the game, he had 6 saves that game, which is more than Allison at that point made in the entire tournament. So my guy was under pressure consistently. Brazil were dominant, and he really had to stand on his head to take him over the line. That's the biggest separation in this game for me. It was his performance, and I think he's wrapped himself up the Golden Glove after this performance, no matter what happens. Probably.
Ooh.
I think that's fair to say. He's the reason why they've gotten through penalty saves, etc.
Yeah.
I think you have to give it to him.
I think people will, and we might touch on this afterwards as well, go with the Moroccan keeper as well as a potential Golden Glove winner, depending on obviously what happens as we go on. But no, definitely. I think I mentioned last time that I won't be surprised if he makes a big move after this. I'm quite certain that there is going to be a big move coming for him because obviously he's still 27, and teams that are looking for someone in the prime, I guess you can't really go wrong with someone like that. And like Gio said, Croatia had one shot on target, the goal coming in at 117 minutes in the game. So yeah, man, Croatia, even though they conceded a lot of chances, they were still in the game. And like you said, guys, Brazil not really being able to kill the game. Maybe it's not part of their sort of play style or game plan. The likes of Fred coming on, you could have put on Fabinho, Bruno Guimaraes at that point as well, just to kill the game. I'm not sure how many subs they still had remaining, but those are the types of players that I think you would turn to at that point of the game. But yeah, really not being able to kill the game there. And I guess a question to you both, Gio first to start with, is this a disappointment for Brazil overall? What do you think?
Absolutely. I think they had probably their best chance to go to the finals. This draw and with this amount of talent and sort of cohesiveness they've had throughout the tournament, it's definitely one of their best shots. Obviously, you have some veterans that may or may not be their last World Cups. Thiago Silva, for example, likely his last World Cup. The rumor mill of Neymar saying that it could be his last World Cup. That's a huge loss. Although he would be up there in age by the next one. That's still a huge loss. That's you banking on your younger guys kind of having to develop into those type of superstar players or star players that can carry a nation. So yeah, no, I think it's very disappointing, especially with an aged team like Croatia, where you could have taken advantage of, 11 shots on target, and only scoring one, as offensively gifted as you guys are. Yeah, no, I'd walk away very, very disappointed.
Okay. Mac, Croatia, World Cup finalists that last time around. I'm just trying to see what they did for the Euros for 2020, but I think yeah, the round of 16 lost to Spain in that high scoring game. They're up there. They're you would consider like a silent uh, team, but up there in terms of rankings in world football. Your overall thoughts, I guess, on the Croatian team?
I think they're just a smart, well-organized team that know their roles on their team and understand what they have to be able to do to draw games out. And if they get kind of a half chance opportunity, kind of fingers crossed they can put one away. They've reached the four times they have got out of the knockout rounds of the World Cup. Both, the only three times they've gotten out of the knockout rounds in the World Cup history, they've actually ended up at the very least in a top four position. So that's making the semifinals at the very least. So that's in a 98, 2018, and of course this World Cup. So they very much understand tournament football, especially I guess, of course in the Euros they didn't perform as well, but the World Cup, this group of players kind of knows what they have to be able to do to be successful, and it really starts and finishes with their midfield, right? We're always going to talk about the Brozovic, Modric, and Kovacic, and in the previous tournaments, Rakitic. Having two tournaments in a row of at least three of those four players playing every minute, that's a great way to start up a team and be very, very successful. So definitely, I would agree with you in terms of Brazil being disappointed, but full credit Croatia in terms of the know-how on how to be able to win.
Okay, so at this point, I would like to turn our attention to the Netherlands versus Argentina, the second quarterfinal match that took place. They tied 2-2 in regular time and extra time. Argentina took it in penalties, 5-4. Mac, I think we pointed out this interest. We were sort of alluding to this in our preview. Would Argentina sort of change their shape to match the Netherlands? And they did, sort of with three center backs, two wide backs, sort of a three in midfield, and two with sort of Messi and Alvarez up top. How did you see the game going?
I thought so. You called that out in terms of an option for them to be able to switch for Argentina. That was phenomenal call. You're spot on there. And in conversely, Netherlands switched their midfield, their attacking front three, and didn't put Klaassen in for the first time this tournament, and started with Depay, Gakpo, and Bergwijn. And I thought, to Argentina's credit, that was a great shift from them, and to Netherlands' detriment, that was a poor decision there. Because it seemed like the Gakpo was left as kind of a number 10, and he was isolated, alone, didn't have any connective tissue between the midfield and him to be able to bring the ball up, whereas he more so would want to isolate out wide. So it was poor from there. So very early on in the game, it seemed like only one team was going to win. Netherlands were just kind of holding Argentina at bay, in my opinion, and didn't really have any creative chances, because as soon as they won the ball, that midfield were outworking Netherlands midfield to be able to get back possession. So overall, up until probably the wedge horse substitution, and that's all the way in the 78th minute, Netherlands were completely out of the game. So that's how I saw large portions of the game. That substitution really changed everything. Having Luke De Jong, Wedgehorst up top, just kind of doing the anti-football. I'll say that in terms of what Van Hal, I know he wants to do total football. That's not what they did. And to create opportunities, full credit to them. That was a great adjustment, the right decision to be able to make, and it got them back in the game. Unfortunately, unfortunately for them, going into extra time, that's really, really, it ended. Argentina were like, you know what? We fucked up. We shouldn't have got here. And going back to just kind of how the first 78 minutes played out, and in terms of the extra time, it seemed like only one team was going to score if there was going to be a goal in extra time period. Argentina hit the post, especially when Di Maria came on. He was a great change for them, adding a different layer in attack. So overall, aside from 12 minutes of stupidity, well, 22 at a time, 22 minutes of stupidity from Argentina, they look like a very, very good team. The downside, of course, is that there was that 22 minutes, and it's tough for them to be able to be in a position where you play so well and you kind of just let it slip through your fingers. But unfortunately, they were able to grasp back onto it and push their way through.
Okay, a moment that stood out to me. I think we're all gonna agree that assist of the tournament by Messi for that first Argentina goal to Molina, and I hear this term referenced a lot in basketball. That's great defense was being played, but the offense was just better. There's no mistake that I could really see. Ake following Messi, really shielding him away from the net and sort of pushing him wide. Defenders look like they got everyone covered, but Molina is just able to get right in front of Blind on that ball across, and then he's able to take a touch past him and finish. And it's just great ball and good finish by Molina to put Argentina up. But yeah, Gio, what were your thoughts on this game?
No, I think I agree with Mac, and he actually pointed it out last podcast where we could possibly see a change in the Argentinian defense, and they matched up their formation, and that played out completely, perfect in their favor because it clogged up a lot more space that Denzel Dumfries would normally take up and go at their defense, which we would expect. And as you saw, Denzel Dumfries couldn't really create any chances from out wide, which again was perfect. So props to Argentina for that switch, and then really took a lot off Acuna's plate. But he was poor. He was. I think we were talking about. I think the first three touches were just god awful, and Mac was having an aneurysm on uh, throughout the game. Every time he touched the ball, even when the ball was in his vicinity, he was like, "Please don't let Acuna touch it. It was just going to be a mistake." But that was hilarious. But yeah, no. Yeah, like you said in that goal, Nathan Ake followed him well, pushed him out wide, through his legs, tough as a defender, and he did a great job of almost man marking Messi at times, and the better offensive player just had a better day, and it's hard to contain a player like him. So no, props to Argentina. Yeah, they played fantastic, and yeah, those last two goals were they kind of fell asleep. I'd say, um, almost thinking they had the win in the bag. But yeah, even in extra time, like Max said, you saw it. They had the better chances. Enzo Fernandez could have finished it
Hmm.
with a goal, but just off the post. But yeah, Argentina was the stronger side throughout the game, and the score didn't show it, but that was definitely the case.
Yeah, and let me just touch on a couple of things before we move on to the preview of the semifinal matchup. I think, yeah, like Mac mentioned, the change, Weghorst coming on, being able to put that first goal away, giving the Netherlands a chance, but really it shouldn't even have gone to that if Pizzella at 90 plus 10 doesn't just take out Weghorst from the back, and great credit to the Netherlands being able to work out a free kick that I guess no one really was expecting. So that short ball by Kupana, Cup, Cup Miners to Weghorst, and honestly, that looking at on replay in slow mo, it doesn't look like such a great goal. But obviously, if you're watching it full speed and you're in that position, great finish by Weghorst and really giving themselves hope, but for that goal. But apart from that as well, we did have a really entertaining penalty shootout. Mac, you might have some words for Emi Martinez, who had two saves in this penalty shootout, and really securing that win for Argentina.
Yeah, it was very interesting going into the penalty shootout. The commentators were talking about, oh, now let's go up here. Noppart, he's huge, 6'8". They have an advantage. It's not a problem. Van Hal was talking about going into the game. Oh, if we go to penalties, easy win. That's not a problem, right? And of course, that's not how it played out because Emi Martinez is there for the sauce. He wants all the smoke. In terms of that first save against Van Dijk, you could see that he was shocked. It very much reminded me of it was the reverse of when Van Dijk took a penalty against Kepa and Kepa stood to the side, that side, and still didn't make that save. And Emi Martinez is like, no, I know you're going to go there. I'll still start in the middle, and I'm still going to be able to get it, right? It was very interesting because, in conversely to what Gio had talked about in terms of Neymar, there was a story, I think it was in Van Hall's biography. I was listening to a podcast, they were talking about it, where Van Dijk talked about as the captain, he wants to be able to take the first penalty, Whereas Van Gaal's like, no, the best penalty taker has to go first. And Van Dijk's like, no, 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 I'm the captain. I'll take it. I'll score. Of course, that's not what happened this individually. And I would have a tendency to agree is that you always want your best penalty takers to go at least first to start up a platform. I think that's what the odds would end up playing out, where if you get a lead after the first goal, generally you would go on to win the penalty shootout. So it was tough there. And then compounding that, Berghaus misses the next one, a great save, Martinez on the complete other side. And I felt like in that moment, being up 2-0, even though they just had surrendered a 2-0 lead in the game in that penalty shootout, it really did feel like it was over at that point, because they had a very slim margin to be able to get back into it. So it was tough that the first two shoes did miss and didn't create more drama towards the end. But I guess the good part is, if you're Argentina, is that Lautaro Martinez, the other Martinez in the team, he went on to score the fifth penalty to close them out. So maybe that gives him a good feeling where going into the semifinal matchup, if he does come on, because he did play decently well in the game. He had one chance, Van Dijk blocked it. So overall, even though they lost in a way, I feel like you can take a lot of credit and morally coming out of this game. You know what? Hey, we were able to stick through. We stood on strong. We had players come on, had a great impact. Overall, it's a good team win, but still with a lot of room for improvement in kind of those mistakes as you highlighted, right?
Okay, 15 cards were shown, the most in World Cup history. Here you've noted, Mac, even more than the Spain versus Netherlands grudge match that took place in the 2010 World Cup. Gio, I don't know about you, but when Andrew Paredes hit that ball after taking Ake out at the Netherlands bench, I was very much in for that moment. What did you think, Gio?
I was all there for the drama. Like, honestly, I loved. Who doesn't like some drama? So when you blasted into net, and I saw, when you watch it from different angles and you see the facial reactions from the Dutch players, that was the best moment. Their eyes lit up and they all just charged. And then you have Virgil van Dijk charging from his back line and literally chest to body, and Paredes flew. Uh, Pure comedy. Just love how big of a degenerate he was at that moment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you have to do it. You have to do it. But this, I guess, leads us nicely to Croatia Argentina as the first semifinal. So, to preview this, I guess we're looking out for, obviously, Argentina played a back five against the Netherlands. But Mac, do you think they will be returning to a back four? And how do you think they'll match up against Croatia?
It'll be interesting. One, I think Argentina for sure are going to win because Talafico is playing instead of Acuna, because Acuna is going to miss the game due to yellow card accumulation. So I think that's an easy dub for them. Or you can now attack down the left hand side. So big win, boys. But no, in all seriousness, in terms of a rotation back to a back four, I could see it because Di Maria did come on and looked very, very strong. And having a threat up wide against wide backs for Croatia, which are not as offensively gifted and are just probably going to sit back. So having somebody out there that has the ability to take someone one-on-one, I think could be beneficial. And to win a World Cup, I understand Messi in this game, it seemed like offensively he was trying to do everything himself. I don't think that's the guaranteed success. You need someone else there cooking as well, another kind of cook in the kitchen to be able to help him out. As well as in the midfield, you want to be able to make sure you can still apply the same levels of pressure. That's more so the key side for me, where even if they do play a back five, really you don't have to worry about their wide attackers as much. If you can stop the midfield, you can stop Croatia. That's really where the battle will be won, in my opinion.
Okay, so matching up there, but on the flip side, Gio, it says here 8 of Croatia's last 9 tournament knockout stage matches have gone to extra time, and 4 out of their 6 knockout games in the World Cup have gone to penalties. We talked about it. They're just a very canny side, experienced players. How do you see this game going?
I think Croatia they simply just aren't scared of anything. They don't falter. They can bend, but they don't break, and it's just simply experience and just the calmness and leadership of the more experienced players, knowing that they're never really out of the game, and they're more than happy to go into extra time, go into penalties. They've done it before. They've done it in multiple tournaments, for that matter. So yeah, no, I think they're very, very comfortable with even sitting back and absorbing pressure again. Of course, this is a different task at hand. It is Lionel Messi. So yeah, they're gonna have a game plan this time on how to sort of defend and what the shift is and like in that sense. But in terms of just overall being very calm on the ball, knowing your chances will come and taking advantage of your chances. They've done it, and I can see them doing it again. So I don't think they're worried at all, or like whoever their opponent is. I don't think they're really worried.
Okay. Predictions for this game. Well, just reading out the odds that Mac kindly put for us. Argentina are negative 126, Croatia positive 380. So that's just looking at it there. Argentina are expected to be favorites, but obviously can't really count Croatia out. So, Mac, I guess give us your predictions for final score or throughout the game for this semi-final match.
Obviously, I'm going to go for an Argentina win here. The reason why is because I think Croatia, for them to win, of course, outside going to penalties, they would have to score 2 goals. Because I think Argentina, you can bank at least one moment of something from somebody. If it's a Messi, a Di Maria, an Alvarez, I wouldn't be surprised one of them have enough quality to be able to create something for themselves and to take a lead. The question will be, do they get that second, or does Croatia kind of push to be able to get to themselves? So I'm going to edge Argentina here in a 2-1 win. I think they'll understand the mistakes they made towards the end of the game in terms of holding on to a lead. And if they're able to do so, they'll come into, if of course they do win and go into the final in very good spirits. So for me, that's how I see the scoreline play out. A 2-1 win for Argentina.
Okay, and Gio, same question for you.
They did in 2018. I think they could do it again. Although different age, different group. Mac always shakes his head at me. But I just, again, when you play with no fear and understand that if you've done it before, it shouldn't really change anything. Their game plan is their game plan, as they've done all tournament. Yes, they've had some struggles, but it seems like as the tournament progresses, Luka Modric is definitely in the hyperbolic time chamber because he ran for a very long time in that Brazil game and probably doesn't get enough credit for as much work he put into that game as he deserves. But I think he can do it again. Time and time again, he showed that age is just a number, and the more you count him out and the more you expect him to falter, the more he's going to rise to that occasion. And I think his leadership, much like all the superstars on all the other teams, is far superior than a lot of players, and I think they just have that self belief now. And again, if it comes down to them sitting a little more, they're perfectly okay with that, and I think they can do it again.
Yeah, I mean, they proved that against Brazil. Like you said, bend but not break. But that being said, I do expect it to be a fairly low-scoring game through the 90. Croatia not really creating much against Brazil, at least in the first half. At least in regular time. And Argentina, yeah, they will get their chances, but I think also they will be more wary, having lost that lead late on in that game, like Mac mentioned. I do expect it to be a low-scoring game, but I think Argentina might just edge it. But we'll see. It's tight. It's a lot tighter than I think a lot of people are expecting it, and it's going to be a great matchup for sure. So let's take a quick break here, guys. Let's take a quick break here, guys, and then we'll be back with some more knockout stage talk. So stay with us.